Hey guys, wanted to go ahead and do a review of the Dunu Falcon Ultra. So I did buy this on AV Exchange used. So before I go on further, I'm going to go and put some notes on the screen. Please note that whatever is in the notes it's like lab notes, basically my thoughts as I'm listening to different music. But also at the same time, what is in the notes is actually very different from what's in the video. So it's meant to be complementary. And it's just done this way to save you time as well as to save me time to keep the video short. All right, well, so let's get right into it. What do I think about the Dunu Falcon Ultra? Well, so the main reason I wanted to get this was there's a lot of comparisons, and you can tell by the graphs, but a lot of folks were comparing this to the Sibga Q.
Honestly, for me, it gets you 95% there.
And I'm going to let you guys know up front, this video will be very Sibga Q focused, so you may be left in the dark if you don't have the Sibga Q, but that's really the whole point and reason why I bought this IM to begin with. Like, is this better than the Sibga Q? The too long didn't read is Sibga Q is actually better than this. Even though this is 200 something bucks, even though some folks are saying it's good, and this is actually a better IM all across the board, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so first off, what I do want to say is I didn't have the original ear tips, so I did have to, tip roll and use my set of ear tips, but I still think even though I don't have the same ear tips, it is still going to pretty much come to the same conclusion. If I had to describe the sound really quickly, this is basically slightly brighter than the Sibga Q. Vocals are a little bit slightly sharper. Vocals are slightly brighter, sharper, more synthetic, and it's not as smooth as the Sibga Q. So this is a little bit more natural sounding, a little bit warmer sounding, a little bit more natural sounding, a little bit less sharp, and a little bit less bright. I would have to say this in general, but let's get right to the point. So for female vocals, for bass, I would actually give this a ranking of A- to B+. So the thing is, I thought the bass was actually pretty good, but as I thought about it more, I was like, well, these other IMs, I've ranked them a ranking of A. So I wouldn't say the bass is that good. The bass is basically, if I'm going to, it's got a lot of punch, a lot of power. It's not average bass. It's basically, it's good. But it lacks a little bit of power. I wanted just a little bit more. So I would say it's like about a B. In terms of sub bass, I would say it's somewhere between correct and a little bit below correct. So when you listen to the sub bass in the background, correct means like when I listen to it, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds like that's the way it should sound, right? Below correct means it's a little polite, like you need a little bit more sub bass than that. That's a little polite. And then anemic means like you have way too little sub bass when I listen. I need more than that. Above correct means it's fun. Like certainly not correct, but it's definitely fun. And then Beats by Dre would be like, whoa, that's a lot of sub bass. So if I had to simplify this, let's just go ahead and show you guys 3 different IEMs as a point of reference. I would say this IEM, the Dunu Falcon Ultra, is right between correct and below correct. It's right here. I would say the Sibga Q is more correct. And then I would say the Juzier Defiant is actually closer to above correct. Like it's like almost Beats by Dre. This definitely has more sub bass compared to these two. In terms of female vocals, I would actually give this a ranking of B. Kind of the main reasons I mentioned before, it's because the vocals on here, they're slightly brighter, they're slightly sharper, a little bit more synthetic, and it's not as smooth as the Sibga Q. What I also noticed as well, which is important to note, is that this IEM, it gets especially harsh on instruments and harsh instruments. So when I was checking the Luna track, this was unbearable. It was so harsh in sibilance, but when I went back and I tested it on this was smooth. So this has the same problem, almost identical, the same problem to the Pula Unicrom. See, the Pula Unicrom doesn't have issues with vocals per se, but when it comes to harsh instruments, it gets unbearably harsh, and that is what I noticed with this IM. Now, what I do want to say is, obviously, when I was doing some tip rolling, the Kiwi Ears Flex, or you could choose the Final Audio E or the Pinot Orange, basically something to tamper down some of that, that sharpness and add a little bit of bass. These definitely help. But what I noticed is that when I would add the Kiwi Ears Flex on it, it basically was like getting to the same level as this stock, but not as good. This is still better, regardless of it all. Like this is still warmer, slightly, but not too much. Fuller vocals, smoother, more natural, less synthetic. and less harsh, more importantly, on the really harsh instrument areas, whereas this gets extremely harsh on instruments. I don't know if I'm hearing something wrong, but like this is unbearable on the instruments, extremely harsh. So I don't have confidence to anyone who says this is great. Like, I don't believe it. Like, this is really harsh on instruments. Watch out. This is not good with instruments. Okay. Male vocals, I'm going to give it a B, but I really wanted to give it a C. Basically what I noticed is like on Justin he sounded good, but then when it came to Chris's voice, Chris sounded a little sharp, a little thin, and a little shouty. And so to me, that's a big red flag. So to me, but I felt bad because I'm like, I can't really give it a C because I've given some crappier IEMs like a grade of C. So this is actually probably closer to like a B minus. So I put a B near C for male vocals. This is better. This is smoother, warmer, fuller, more natural sounding. This is a little bit sharper by comparison. Comfort on these are excellent. I would say the soundstage on this is actually average. It's not very, I wouldn't say it's spectacular or wow or anything like that. Just kind of like it's average. I would say sibilance scores, as I mentioned before. Now, here's what's interesting about the sibilance scores on this. So at regular volume, you are still getting medium sibilance to high sibilance on this, which means this is not a very smooth IEM. It gets pretty harsh in sibilance. But then when you increase the volume, it never gets painful, and it never gets hard, and it never gets very high. It's always just kind of like, the way I would explain it is there's always medium to moderate to like sibilance with this, but that's not the main issue. The main issue is what I mentioned before, which is instruments. On that song Luna, it was very, very harsh with this IEM. So again, if you are familiar with the Pula Unicron, this IEM doesn't sound bad with vocals. It doesn't sound shouty per se, but where it gets harsh is instruments, and that's exactly what happened here. So my overall 2 cents, if I had to explain this in a couple minutes, in a couple sentences, this is basically warmer, more natural sounding, fuller vocals, less shouty, less sibilance compared to this here. And yes, you can fix it here with probably using Kiwi Ears Flex, which I did, but that still isn't better than this. This is still better. So that's my overall 2 cents, and we'll go from there.